Hello, welcome to the Cinema Savvy Movie Podcast, channel for film reviews, discussions, and everything in between. I'm Chris Garner, joined by my co-host Tate in the Hour and George Aldridge, and today we're bringing you another list. I wanted to say top 10 list, but this is a bit different. All three of us are on the podcast today, so this will be a sort of top 15. I know it's not a number that's often heard all that much. So we're all going to go round with our top 5 favourite films of this year. Now, obviously, we should say this at the start. None of us have seen every single film that came out this year, so I'm sure there's some that we didn't get to mention. I know, George, you were mentioning Sicario. I don't think any of us got to see that, did we? And I'm sure that would probably be on the list if we had have seen it, because I've heard great things about that one.
Yeah, I did want to watch it, but I missed out on 2 months worth of cinema trips, which is my personal hell.
Yeah, so... Oh, yes.
And I basically didn't go to the cinema until I started doing this podcast. I'd watch the film every now and then, but at the start of the year, I think I watched Age of Ultron, and that was about it. And then I got into this podcast and watched all of these films.
Yeah, and I mean, this podcast forced me to go and see Fantastic Four, which I'm sure will be in none of our lists this year. But so yeah, this will be, as I said, top 15 favourite films of this year. And I guess I'm starting off with my number 5 pick, aren't we?
Oh wait, first we have to read out the honourable mentions. These are the ones that did not make the cut. We'll do it at the start. Get it out of the way. So we've got... these were all decided by us beforehand. These are ones that just didn't make our top 5s. So we got Bridge of Spies, The Peanuts Movie, The Visit, Rogue Nation, that is Mission Impossible, Straight Out of Compton, Spectre, I don't know who put that in there, but I'm not happy about that. Beasts of No Nation, John Wick, Everest, and for some strange reason, George put in Jurassic World.
Because it was fun, and it broke every single record for an almighty 6 months.
Yeah, it broke my record on disappointment as well. Okay.
What? Maybe, well, I was going to say, it's Crystal was disappointed further 6 months later.
Yeah.
No one else was.
Although I'm glad I'm not the only one here in this discussion that hated Jurassic World. I feel a bit better now. I'm not being ganged up on like I was for Star Wars, so I feel a bit.
No,
bit
Jurassic World. Jurassic World. They had a woman running in high heels away from a dinosaur that was previously catching up to a car going about 50 miles per hour.
Yeah.
And who
Star
would take
Wars
it seriously?
Was beautiful, man. Who hurt you?
But yeah, I definitely didn't pick Jurassic World for that. That was just sort of, as you said, like because of the huge success it was, and I don't think anyone saw that coming, to be honest, when that one came out. But anyway, I'm going to get on to my 5. This is probably going to be unpopular with you two guys, so it's up to you if you want to talk about it later, because I'm sure it's going to feature higher up in both you guys' list. So my number 5 pick is Mad Max Fury Road.
And stop there.
Hey, it's still in the top 5. That's nothing to be sniffed at. I had to take out loads of other films that I liked and put them in my honourable mentions. But Mad Max Fury Road, the reason I've put it sort of low down on my list is because I think from an action standpoint and spectacle, practical effects, it's second to none. Like, without a doubt, one of the best action films you'll ever see. But I had to mark it down based on its story. It is very light on story now. I know some people think that, oh, well, a film like this, you don't really need an in-depth story, in-depth character, anything like that. I felt a bit differently. I thought that the story could have been a lot sort of like deeper or have more going on to it. It's sort of just an A to B and then B back to A story, which I didn't really care for. And I think that I would have liked to have seen more from Tom Hardy in the role as Mad Max. Max has always sort of been a supporting character, especially in 2 and Beyond Thunderdome, but even then the plot's still sort of involving him and about him in some way.
Yeah.
I thought this one, in all honesty, you could take out Mad Max and just have the film called Furiosa, which wouldn't be a bad film. I'm not saying that. I thought the character of Furiosa was great and Charlize Theron was brilliant in that role, but I just would have liked to seen Max a little bit more involved in the plot, especially because this is sort of a semi-reboot. I thought you could have developed sort of his backstory of the visions that he sees and get a bit more from the story to go along with the action. But I mean, if you're looking at this just purely from the action, it's just without a doubt the best action movie of the year and probably in like the last decade.
Yeah, I personally think it was one of the best action films probably since the first Matrix. And that's a bold statement, but I'm not going to talk about it further because it is, in fact, on my list. So now we go over to George, I think.
Yeah, Mad Max is also on my list, however, it's higher up. My number 5 was one of the nicest surprises of the year, which was Ex Machina.
And stop there.
That's fair enough. I'll just say that One of my friends hyped this up to me, and I said maybe I'll see it someday. Then he spoiled the whole film for me because I wasn't really bothered. And then I saw it, I was like, for fuck's sake! It would have been even more incredible if I hadn't have known everything. But it was incredible. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, and I mean, me and you, Tate, reviewed that, didn't we? We did an Ex
we
Machina
did.
review, so we've talked that film to death, but we both love that one.
Yeah. Is it on your top 5, by the way?
It was an honourable mention, actually. I believe, I think. But yeah, I love that movie to death.
It will represent my favourite sci-fi film of the year then.
Yeah.
So, my number 5, like I was saying to you guys beforehand, I could not choose between these two films. One of them I enjoyed for its amazing kind of performances, unique take and brilliant direction. The other one I enjoyed for the story, the characters, and the kind of feeling it gave me. So I'm going to just put them next to each other. We've got Steve Jobs, the biopic by Danny Boyle, very, very well acted, amazing cinematography as well. And then on the other hand, we've also got the film Brooklyn, which was a complete outside one to me. I mean, I saw it the other day. It completely took me by surprise. A brilliant depiction, brilliant acting, and I'm really sorry for pronouncing this wrong, but Saoirse Ronan?
Saoirse Ronan, yeah.
Saoirse Ronan, as the main character, should win the leading actress of the year for that performance in that film. However, it will probably go to either of the actresses in Carol. Even though the acting performance in this I preferred over the actresses in Carol.
Okay, so is it my number 4 now?
I
guess.
believe so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my number 4 is another sci-fi film, is The Martian.
Stop right there. This is going to be an incredible episode.
Yeah, The Martian, what can I say? I just loved this film. It was so entertaining, and going in, I don't know why, but I was sort of apprehensive. I thought, I mean, the day before I went to see it, I went to see Macbeth, and I was sort of on a downer from that movie, and I thought, oh, okay, I'll go and see The Martian. And in all honesty, I loved it beginning to end. And George, I think you went to see it before me, and then I texted you as soon as I got out the screen and said that this is going to be on my top list of films this year, without a doubt. Matt Damon was fantastic in the lead role, and it wasn't just his movie, really. Like, all the supporting cast, it was great to see Jeff Daniels in a movie again, and he was in another film that might feature later on in my list as well. Such a great actor, and that one moment where they sort of like around the conference table and they're talking about Lord of the Rings and like code names and stuff, that's still without a doubt one of the favourite moments like I've been to the cinema to see. I love that scene to death. And it's a great movie. It's very similar to sort of Apollo 13, and that's another movie that I absolutely adore. It's just a really solid movie, beginning to end. Return to form, I would say, for Ridley Scott, without a question of a doubt. Yeah, and I just can't wait till it comes out on Blu-ray so I can buy it and watch it a bunch more times. So, yeah, number 4 pick The Martian.
I just want to say that Sean Bean did not die in 2015 in cinema. He was in 3 films, including Pixels. In Pixels, he played a general, and he survived an attack from computer games. Sean Bean, hashtag Sean Bean lived.
Hey, we've still got like 7 more days from when we're recording this.
My number 4 is one of the nicest surprises of the year, done by one of my favourite directors that's up and coming. It was Kingsman. Is anyone else picked this? Or is it just me?
I completely forgot about Kingsman, actually.
Thank God. This is without a doubt. I liked Spectre. I know Tate, you didn't.
No.
But Kingsman was the fun Bond film from the sort of 70s, 80s, turned up a notch in the Matthew Vaughn style, and it was incredible. And I just remember seeing this at the cinema. I got like an early screening ticket, and it was just so good, and I had so much fun. And it's even the references. Sometimes references do your head in when, he's a spy. But when it was kind of like Samuel L. Jackson, with a lisp, and he's saying that type of movie just shoots him in the head. I'd read the comics, so I knew it was coming. But it was just seeing it, and that church scene. That's probably the scene of the year.
Fight scene, maybe.
I'd
have a different scene of the year personally.
There's this, but definitely fight scene. I mean, it's just the quote to the crazy Bible bashing woman, and then it's just when they just let it out and they start take, and it was just a beautiful mess. And I love this film to pieces. I can't wait. They're starting filming the next one in April. It's going to be amazing when it comes out.
You see, I really enjoyed Kingsman, but there was something that always got to me was it's a film where I know this is going to be a little bit like Star Wars, where the spoiler here, teacher dies. like the teacher of the film, the person who guides our hero, dies, and it's something that I personally didn't enjoy about Star Wars, like the original Star Wars New Hope. The first time I watched it, I was thinking, it'd be really nice to enjoy the character like that we have here being taught by this person a little bit more. I would have been happier if he'd been given like a little bit more training. But going along with the argument given for Chris's hatred of the Star Wars Force Awakens is that he is a Mary Sue in this film, and I can happily say that he is a Mary Sue, a person who can do absolutely everything perfect every single time. And he gets away with dying a couple of times, and that just didn't click with me, but I really enjoyed the film in general without looking too much into it.
Yeah, and Kingsman was actually one. I feel ashamed for saying this. I actually forgot to put that on my list. I completely forgot that came out earlier this year. But no, in hindsight, that would probably have been one of my honourable mentions. I remember when I first saw it, I didn't really care for it all that much, but that's because I wasn't sort of clued up on the whole James Bond and spy thing, like all the things it was parodying. Now that I sort of went back and watched a lot of the old Bond films, and I've obviously given Kingsman since then a second and third watch. Yeah, I really do love that movie. I don't quite like it as much as Kick-Ass, which was his previous movie. Actually, no, his previous one was X-Men First Class, I want to say. But no, love Kingsman to death. I don't know whereabouts I would have put it on a top 5 list, but when you look back at it, the performances are great, the sort of commentary is great on it, and the action's just so much fun. I mean, that whole ending with Casey and the Sunshine Band playing as the whole world's tearing itself apart, and you got to mention the church bit as well.
Oh yeah.
With Colin Firth with Freebird. Yeah.
Yeah. The church bit was just like, yeah.
Yeah. So
I enjoyed it. So.
So number 3
Me?
pick. Oh, it's
Oh
yours.
no,
Tate's
no,
on
it's
the
me. It's
Tate,
me.
yeah. Okay. Sorry, jumping the gun a bit there.
But to be honest, like, we can just skip straight on to you because it's a film that we can't really talk about because it's obviously higher up on George's list. Star Wars. Next.
4. What?
Yeah, I'm not the victim now.
I will find you, Tate. I have a Kylo Ren helmet, and I'm literally stroking it. I'm ready to put it on and find you.
I'm telling you now, it's 4 for a goddamn good reason. There are 3 other films which were better when you step back and look away from the hype. Yeah, sure, it was a good film this year. It was a very good film this year. But I just have to say that these films that are above it are above it for various reasons. Mainly because they were the best in their own categories.
I will comment on that later on, but after I found out what each film is.
Divide and conquer, yes.
Okay, Chris.
So my number 3, Tate, you mentioned it sort of earlier. It's Steve Jobs. I couldn't really decide where to put The Martian or Steve Jobs. I think as a film, Steve Jobs is probably better in that it's better written. It's certainly, I think The Martian was more entertaining, but if you're sort of looking at it just from a film, I love the direction in this movie and the performances, and it's really just carried by Aaron Sorkin's perfect script. I would even say that I preferred this to Social Network as well, which was a film that I really enjoyed. I was just sort of taken aback by this film. I remember seeing it at the cinema. Sadly, there weren't that many people in the screening, which was a shame, but just sort of how it's only sort of like 3 unveilings of the different products, and when I first heard that concept I was like, oh, I don't really like that. I would like a sort of, A to B story beginning to end of Steve Jobs. But they make it work so well, and you still get so much character development out of it from the first scene to the last. Jeff Daniels again, this was the second film I saw him in this year, and he just knocked it out of the park. That whole confrontation he has with Steve Jobs in that great sort of like monologue, the duologue even, between the two in the second act of the film was fantastic. And I don't know, it was just a film that really hit with me. I can't wait to see it again when it's released, and I think it's probably one of the strongest sort of biopic films I've ever seen. So Steve Jobs at number 3.
My number 3. Also, I want to say I haven't seen Steve Jobs yet. Again, I missed out. I do want to watch it before the Oscars happen, so hopefully it gets released by then. I put The Martian at number 3. Kind of going off what you said, Chris. I didn't expect it to be amazing. I mean, if you look at Ridley Scott seriously, I went to the cinema and saw Exodus last year. I've been to the cinema for a lot of poor films, and it was very boring.
Yeah.
But I wasn't really bothered, to be fair, because it's a film. And it's just got a very poor track record recently, and it was kind of like everyone's hyped at The Martian, the book readers loved it. so you think it's going to be good, but then you think, is he going to destroy it? And then when I saw it, I just had a whale of a time. I didn't think something could be so fun that's so serious, but it works in his favour. It makes Matt Damon so likeable, and I just had a really good time. And I like the sort of dual use of him alone on Mars, and you've got all the other stuff going on at home. Because in all honesty, it would have been solid to have had a 2-hour film just about Matt Damon, and it was kind of there the whole time where you feel what he's going through, that sort of stuff, and it was just a really good time watching that film.
And hasn't that
But
been?
it was-
Hasn't that been nominated for like best comedy or something this year, The Martian? Which is
Yeah, it
really
has,
weird.
If it's Golden Globes, I've always got a beef with that, where Golden Globes kind of go, we want you to do well, but because you make us laugh a few times, we're going to call it a comedy just to appease you. So I think if there's been times before when they've had some really serious films, they've called them comedies. But fair play, like I'd like it to do well on awards. I think it could get maybe 1 or 2 nominations, maybe stuff like sound. As we approach Oscar season, I need to have a look to see what else there could be nominated. But I was pleasantly surprised, and it's been one of my favourite films of the year by a good mile. And the whole Interstellar versus The Martian debate.
They're very different
They're
films.
they're very different films, but I like the fact that we've had 2 sci-fi films in the space of a year that are proper sci-fi, if you know what I mean.
My number 3, and I can say for just various circumstances, this was the best sci-fi film of the year, Ex Machina.
Yeah.
And that may be very controversial to George because he loves Star Wars so
No.
This was the best sci-fi film of the year.
I don't see Star Wars as sci-fi. I just wanted to say that. I see it's his own
It's
thing.
science fiction fantasy.
Yeah,
fantasy.
exactly. It's like space opera.
Yeah.
But anyway,
But yeah,
um,
sorry, go on.
this film was one of the greatest. This is going to be, when we were doing the review about it, we said this is going to be a film that you're going to talk about in 20 years' time. This, I reckon, probably 3 out of my top 5 will be films talked about, like, for years to come. And this one is going to be one that people are going to puzzle over, people are going to look to, and just the fact that there's only 3 actors in this film, that's what really gets me. It's really closely knit, focused on the characters, it's very well shot, very well acted, and I just really enjoyed it overall. It was just amazing. Everything about it was amazing.
Yeah, it was the atmosphere as well for me. It felt very claustrophobic. Like when
drama,
he leads you into that sort of, it's not an underground compound, but when he says like there's no windows, and automatically you get in there, it just feels really oppressive.
Yeah.
How it's sort of broken up. You get the chapters of the film. It felt very like The Shining to me.
And the only reason why it isn't higher is because of that dance scene.
Oh, that's
Oh
an
no,
amazing
no,
scene.
no! That's the greatest. I was gonna make a joke then. No, literally, seriously, the deleted scene in The Force Awakens is General Hux interrogating Poe Dameron. He's just dancing in the background. No, the dance scene was great. It's kind of what you needed. It was a kind of like what the fuck moment, but it was just glorious.
Yeah.
It just worked, and then Drake ripped it off in Hotline Bling.
Yes.
No, I will fight you, Tate.
Hotline Bling would not exist without X-Men.
Exactly.
No, Tate, I will fight you on that. I love the dance scene. I mean, it was sort of a moment of levity, but right when you're about to start to laugh, you realise how uncomfortable it is that he has been sort of teaching this android all this time to dance and like God knows what else. But yeah, Ex Machina, and just sort of going off a tangent. I mean, I work in retail in like a sort of DVD store, and already like loads of people have been buying Ex Machina. I've been talking to them about it, and they said like, well, I haven't seen it yet, but a lot of my mates have said how great it is. So you can sort of see that it is already building up that good word of mouth, and I still do think that give it a few years, this will be one of those sort of like cult films, cult sci-fi ones that people look back to, and I think it deserves it because it is a fantastic movie.
This is the kind of film that you're going to get theories about in
Yeah.
like 5 years' time, where like people are saying, "Oh my god, actually, this is what was going on all along."
And I mean, we
stuff
were
like that.
debating the ending to that film in our review just like for minutes and minutes. I mean, there's so many different ways you can read
Yeah.
that ending to it.
I just thought it was great and a nice surprise.
So number 2 pick. I don't think this film will probably be in any of your guys' list, but I'm sort of like wrestling myself with it now to see if it should have been this high. But this was sort of gut instinct when I made the list. This was Legend with Tom Hardy, which has just been released as of this recording in the US. I don't know what it was about this film. It was just so entertaining. I went to see this film twice at the cinema, packed house both times. And I really didn't know what to make of it. Like, I remember when they said they were making a film about the craze and Tom Hardy was going to be playing both of the twins, that I thought, oh great, they're going to go serious in this, it's going to be violent, it's going to be dark, and then they said it was going to be sort of more comedic. and I thought, oh, this is going to miss the mark completely. But when you watch it, it does have elements of both, and it is a very funny movie, and it is an incredibly violent film as well, especially one bit that happens towards the end of the film. And like Tom Hardy in this film, this is without doubt one of the best performances I've ever seen him do, because he does play both of the twins so differently. And I'm really interested to see the special features in this, because I know that like sort of split screening and like having the same actor on screen isn't anything new. It's been done to death like decades ago, but it is seamless how they do it. There's no moments where you sort of look at it and go, oh, well, that looks fake. And David Thewlis in it as well was a great supporting role in this film. I just loved it, and it really reminded me of sort of the tone of Bronson. That is also another very violent and intimidating film, but it does have those comedic elements, and I think most people that see Bronson tend to gravitate towards it straight away because it is a very quirky individual film, and I think this one is too. And I just loved all the performances. There's a great sort of one shot in it that's very sort of reminded me of Goodfellas. Yeah, and I can't wait. I think this is released earlier next year. Can't wait to see it again. Very quotable as well, very funny, and I just loved it. So, number 2, as I said, it might be a bit high, and sort of like my attitude towards it might drop down eventually, but right now, that's just where I felt it needed to go.
I loved Legends. I mean, we reviewed it together. We both had a great time. With me, it's kind of that little bit where I'd have liked to have seen a bit more of the craze, in the sense that they covered, it's a kind of petty flaw. It's nothing big, but I liked it to have been like a Netflix series, because they cover about 2 years of a 15-20 year story. But saying that, it was in my top 10. I just thought it was such great fun. But going into my number 2 film of the year, everyone's probably worked this out by now. It is Mad Max Fury Road. It is without a doubt one of the greatest cinematic experiences I've ever had in my life.
Stop?
Oh wait, I thought you said you.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
And my number 2 is Mad Max Fury Road.
Is it?
Yeah, we may as well talk about it together.
We'll duel it. It was just glorious. Everything about this film was just incredible. I mean, when I saw it for the first time, I was having such a good time. It was so fun. And then it was, the more you see it, it was the kind of the war boys there chanting. Literally, I could talk about this film for hours. I mean, and I think the best thing about it was 15, because I remember when it was coming out, there's a lot of money spent on this, and you think, are they going to make it 12 to appease the box office? Then when they hit the 15 rating / rated R, I was so happy, because I knew. And then you watch it, and the whole film is a middle finger to Hollywood execs. Yeah. When you have the one of the girls falling off the thing, and she survives by the car rolling over her. You think, oh, standard Hollywood, she survived. Then the fucking pig doctor thing behind her just obliterates her. And literally, it's so much of that, but just the whole production of it's just fascinating, from what went wrong, how long it took to do, and it's just amazing at the final outcome. And I really hope that it gets Oscars. It deserves Oscars.
Yeah, it does. It really does. And I really enjoyed the film a lot. And I know that they've released the name for the new film, which is The Wasteland, and that just excites me.
I want to see more of this world. Like the whole Citadel at the start, I remember seeing that, and like my jaw just dropped. Like the whole, like how everything was built as well. And like I think I said this in the review, that when the trailers came out, which by the way, the trailers of this movie were a work of art unto themselves, how they were edited and the music and everything, but when it said the mastermind George Miller, I was like, really? Is he a mastermind? Like, yeah, he did the first 3. Happy Feet 1 and 2. He did Babe. What was it? Pig in the City. I was like, is he a mastermind? And then you see this movie, and you see that all the, you see like, all the design. I think he like postponed the filming of this movie to make sure that he'd got all the cars built, didn't he, or something like that? And I know they were inundated with like, I think the place where they were filming it got flooded or something like that, so they had to move all the shooting to Africa. Yeah. It's just a fantastic film to watch. Absolute, just visually perfect, and I knew I was going to get that when the trailers came out. As I said, it was a bit light on story for me, so that's why I had to drop it a bit, but I mean, I'll completely agree with what you guys said. It's one of the most fun films I've seen in the cinema in a long time, and I went to see it in 3D as well. I don't usually see films in 3D, but I did actually think the 3D was fantastic in this film as well.
I saw it twice at the cinema, then I got it on Blu-ray. I think I saw it 4 times in a week on Blu-ray. It was just glorious. I think I was at home, I was bored. I was like, what am I going to do today? And then, in my head, it just came on, like, Ride to the Gates of Valhalla. And then it just turned on. And again, it was incredible. Also, we didn't even speak about the Doof Warrior. That's how incredible this thing is. They actually trained him to play the guitar blindfolded and with
Really?
a real flamethrower. He was trained for it, yeah. And like, they said, "Oh, do you want CGI flame?" And George was like, "No, but he can learn to use a real one."
Damn right. It looks amazing. I love that character. There was no reason for him to be in that movie, but he's fantastic. And all the drum guys on the back. I just
Yeah.
want to say as well before we move on, Immortan Joe, one of the best looking bad guys I have seen in a movie since...
Villain of the year, would you say?
Villain
or
of
maybe
the year.
Kylo
Ky-
Ren. Which we are just going to say because we all kind of
I
worked
actually
out
looked
what
at my
George's
helmet
number
then.
one pick is.
I'm going with Immortan Joe. I'm sorry for Villain of the Year because I was actually
Yeah, Immortan
terrified
Joe.
by him.
Chris, but you said in the review Morton Joe doesn't do anything.
Well, I didn't say he didn't do anything. I just wanted him to be more villainous. I wanted to see more of him. I wanted to see
Like,
more
kill
of him
his
being...
father.
Spoiler alert, in case you haven't seen it. Everyone should have seen it by this point anyway. So, yeah, so Tate, is it... Oh, no, your number two was
No,
that.
it's
So, my
number one's now.
Okay.
Here we go. And the
I-
film of the year for Chris is...
Oh wait, I know this. Okay, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, it's Pixar's Inside Out.
Ooh.
I
don't
sense,
agree with that
sensed
at
how
all.
underwhelming you were there.
I do
kind
not
of-
agree with that at all.
I kind of realised, I was like, he said it, he had it
Yeah.
Inside Out earlier. It's like, but he hasn't said it.
Yeah,
Fair play.
just this film just like hit me just right in the feels as Pixar does, and I will say that this is without a doubt the best Pixar film we've had since Toy Story 3. And I think what it did was it sort of did what Toy Story does in that it appealed to adults as well as kids. Now since then we've had didn't Cars 2 follow Toy Story, which was more for the kids, and even Good Dinosaur, like our review for that, we weren't particularly massively impressed with that. We were impressed with the animation, but not so much the film itself. Inside Out, I just love. I thought it's one of the most creative films I've ever seen. Really sort of reminds me a little bit of Pixar's Monsters Inc. with the whole world behind something we've never seen. And even still with like my own emotions, I keep thinking like, oh, that's, anger and disgust. I love all the characters in it. I thought it was so imaginative, so creative, all the things they did with it. Great story and really nice sort of emotional tie-up at the end. And since this film, they've released an animated short. I don't know if you guys have saw it, called Riley's First Date, and that was brilliant. And I think this Pixar, more than any of the other ones like Toy Story, has the legs to go on and have sequels that actually mean something and continue the story of Riley as she, grows older and matures. Whereas, do we really need a Cars 3, for example? Or
There is a Cars 3 coming out,
Yeah.
I'm just having a look now.
Or a Toy Story 4?
I do not agree with your choice.
Okay,
And
that's
there is
fine.
a reason for that. One, my number one was a bigger punch to the gut than your film.
Okay.
My one actually brought me really close to tears. Like, at the ending.
Wait.
Not only that, but, like, there was some elements in your film which, I know it's a kid's film, but just don't make no sense, um, like, I'm not gonna lie, but like cinema sins have this thing which is Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah.
This film was filled with it. Literally everything about this film, like, went in the favour of like the two emotions that were trying to survive once they got into that situation.
Bing bong.
And yeah, sure, Bing Bong and like the tears that were shed when he died.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it was a moment. We didn't really get to learn about him too much.
I almost cried
I
when
didn't-
Bing
I
Bong
didn't-
died.
Almost.
Oh yeah.
I
Where's your
didn't
soul?
connect with him.
Do you have no soul?
I didn't connect with him at all.
Oh man.
It's an elephant, and there were just some elements of the film which I know it told a very good story and showed very good messages about, like, the emotions that kids can go through and how to deal with them. But, like, they really, really, like, I don't know, something about this film that I didn't like as a Pixar film, and I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say I preferred Monsters University to this film.
Oh, you didn't just use the Monsters University card on this podcast. Oh my god.
Chris, now how'd you feel? Because this is what I felt when you said Phantom Menace is worse than Force
Oh.
Awakens.
Oh man, that hurt. That actually hurt. You take that back.
In
Jake.
fact, no, here we go. Animated films that I preferred over this one from this year alone.
Shaun the Sheep the movie.
Peanuts movie, which was a real good homage to the old Schultz
I haven't
films
seen that
and
one yet,
comics
actually,
and
so I
stuff.
can't comment on that one.
And The Good Dinosaur, because damn, that water was at least beautiful.
And those T-Rexes were majestic as fuck as well.
Yes.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's
All you need to know is the T-Rexes are just the most majestic things
I will
that
see
the
them
world
as-
has ever seen.
I will see them eventually, in a few months.
But I thought it was a tightly knit story. I thought everything paid off at the end emotionally and just everything in narratively.
Oh, the music was nice
Music
as well.
was great.
I
Michael
can give it that.
Giacchino definitely becoming one of the sort of most famous composers nowadays. I just loved everything about it. The voice acting, the animation was great. The emotion was there. It's everything I want in an animated film, in a Pixar film, and that's why I had to give it my number one pick.
Fair enough. Do you want my number
Oh,
one?
I wonder what it
I'm-
could
I'm
be.
gonna-
No,
Before
I
I'm
wonder
gonna-
what it's
I'm
going to
gonna
be.
lead in.
Hold on, I'm preparing myself for Jurassic World.
No, I'm going to say something about Inside Out. Inside Out is the 5th film I ever cried at.
Yeah.
Okay? By cry, I mean like a tear going down my face.
It's not like
weep.
ugly crying.
Do you know what? Do you want to know something? No, it wasn't ugly crying.
Here's
no,
the film that you
It was just
weeped
Bing
at.
Bong. Do you want to know what I ugly cried at? Star Wars.
Really?
The Force
Really?
Awakens. Yes, it ruined me. And you know what bit it was. I was emotionally incapable. Tate, I was
What,
chatting.
the bit where Jar Jar reappears and is...
Yeah, because Kylo Ren took off his helmet and before he was Jar Jar Binks. Then he
Yeah.
stabbed his father because his father breeded a gun.
Or was it the bit where maybe Coruscant got blown up?
Hosnian Prime. Guys, I know my research now. I've been reading the dictionary. Hosnian Prime. This is another thing for another episode. I'm not joking. I've got really badly, goodly sad with it. But this is the film of the year because, much like a Nolan fanboy who would chose Interstellar as film of the year, however, for the right reasons, I've come out of Star Wars like a child. Not only did I cry, I felt the joy. I remembered why I love films. I remember why I love this franchise. I saw all 7 films in a row. I'm repeating everything I said last week, but I just
Does
had
this
a
mean when the
glorious
next
time.
film comes out, you're going to see all 8 films in a row?
No, I'm not, because it's Rogue One. I'm just going to probably watch the Rogue One, then Episode 4 in the morning. Because that'll
okay.
make sense.
Yeah.
Episode 8, I'll probably just do 7. Or maybe I can test myself and do a 7 in a row, followed by 8. But that mean I've got to get up earlier and, plan it better. But yeah, anyway, I just had so much fun with this, and there was so much going on. It was a great return to the Star Wars universe. I'm excited for the future and what they're going to do, and I've become a Kylo Ren fanboy. I have my Kylo Ren helmet in front of me. I'm gonna.
So you've become a fanboy of a fanboy.
Yes, fanboyception. Hit the beat.
I'm just going to go on a limb here and say that Chris did not
No.
like this film.
Oh, Chris didn't like this film, and that's why we dropped a subscriber number.
It's interesting actually because
And what Chris felt with Inside Out and your
Yeah.
Monsters University quote, that's how I felt. Except it wasn't as bad. Monsters University is not as. Actually, I can't say. I prefer the Phantom Menace. to
yeah,
Monsters
same,
University.
same.
Yeah, it's...
That's because I never cared for Monsters Inc.
Oh, you
I
were
love
doing so
Monsters.
well there.
No, no,
George,
I
and then
like
you
it.
just threw it all
No,
out.
I like it. But
yeah,
Pixar
okay,
wise,
George, George, do you want to just quiet down for a minute? You can,
Pixar wise, it's always
look,
been Toy
people,
Story.
people are okay on hitting on Star Wars every now and then. It wasn't a perfect movie. Don't even touch
It's got its
Monsters
flaws.
Inc.
It's got its flaws. Star Wars. I'm not
Don't
lying.
even go near Monsters Inc.
No, I like Monsters Inc. I just don't love it because I just didn't connect with it as a kid. I just used to watch Toy Story and
That's
repeat.
fair enough.
Well, that's fair.
I'll let you
Yeah.
off.
so that's why I wasn't bothered about Monsters University. Whereas if I'd waited 16 years for Phantom Menace, I'd have been devastated. And I've waited technically 3 years officially waited, but I've waited 16 years since I saw the old ones for a new one, and I wasn't disappointed. I loved it. And you should see it. It's currently breaking every record on Earth, which is glorious. I want it to dethrone Avatar.
Okay, I'll
immediately.
agree with that. Yeah.
Avatar
China's
needs to
the
be
only hope.
dethroned.
It will get it, but I can't really talk about it because we spoke in this in a 2-hour detail last week. But as an update for people, I'm learning the new planet names, the system names, the weapon names, and the Riot Stormtrooper has become one of my cult heroes. The way he threw away his riot shield, he saw the ancient weapon of the Jedi, and he thought, fuck it, and got out his electronic staff, and he wasn't fazed by death, he just went for him. And RIP to that trooper that almost killed a
Leroy
lightsaber
Jenkins.
wielder. I want his name, he's a cult hero, I'm going to buy a Black Shoes figure in honour of him.
And now time for my number one, which I am 100% sure that none of the viewers on this channel or the people doing this podcast have actually seen.
Is it because it's illegally been watched?
No, it's this film. This film came out in
Okay.
July this year. It's an indie film, which I surprised myself by it. But then again, I enjoy films of the past. I enjoy homages to films. Hugo, the film that came out a couple of years ago, did a great homage to cinema. This is a brilliant homage to foreign films. And it's a film about friendship. It is exactly what the film The Fault in Our Stars should have been. And this is Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl.
Oh, I've heard about this.
I heard about this one. I haven't seen this one yet.
And I'm going to tell you now, I'm not going to spoil it, but this film is the only film this year that has brought me close to tears, and I was holding them back. I was like, the music that comes on in some of the most pivotal scenes. I have to say before you watch it, guys, the first half of the film is extremely weird, and it plays out like the first half of the film. What's it called? Oh my god, the film's gone from my head now. Mean Girls. And Mean Girls is actually quite a good movie, I have to say, but the first half of the film plays out like that. It's a very high school has different hierarchy systems, stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. But this film has completely destroyed me. Like, this film emotionally, just to give you a brief plot because not many people will know about it, I'm just going to read it off IMDb. High schooler Greg, who spends most of his time making parodies of classic movies with his co-worker Earl, finds his outlook forever altered after befriending a classmate who's just been diagnosed with cancer. So basically, he makes films like foreign films, like in the style of foreign films, but knockoffs of original films. So one of them that he made was A Sockwork Orange, where all of the characters are sock monsters. And he comes up with these amazing, weird ideas. He's a very socially awkward character. But the way the characters develop all the way through, there's an inside jokes all the way through the film. There are moments you laugh, there are moments you cry, and it perfectly shows off, like, the journey that a person goes on when trying to be friends with someone who is suffering from a horrible disease. It is the movie of the year, outright, over your two movies, and it will never be recognised because it's an indie film.
Isn't Ron Swanson in it? Sorry, Nick Offerman, that's his real name.
Nick Offerman, yes.
Yes, Ron Swanson's a hero.
But I have to say, R.J. Seiler, the person who plays Earl, has been nominated for something. I think it may be comedy, supporting actor in a comedy, in the Golden Globes. So hopefully that gives this film a little bit more recognition. But I really do suggest, out of all the films that we've talked about today, that people go watch this film, as it will change you.
Yeah, well, you sold me on it. I mean, I heard the name, released when it came out. When did you say it came out? July?
July in the USA. I'm not sure when it came out in the UK.
I was going to say it may have had quite a bit of competition, especially being an indie film coming out at that time of the year when it's sort of like the big push for summer movie season. But absolutely, and I mean, I'll give this movie a watch now. You've sort of mentioned it. I mean, it's got my interest without a doubt, and I like the fact that it's a homage, as you were saying. Sort of like, I think I'll get a kick out of that whole parody thing with it. And it is nice, as you said, like these indie films get more of a mention. Like Ex Machina, I don't know whether I'd call that an indie movie, or it was sort of like a very big budget one.
I think it's an independent film, but it's one of them independent films which can graft. Whereas I'm guessing the one Tate's picked is probably less than $1 million budget.
Let me just research that whilst you guys keep talking.
But yeah, I mean, this film, as I said, like I heard the name come out about it, but it's sort of like just dropped off for me, and that's probably because it was an indie movie and it was up against so much.
Budget 8 million, box office 9.1. So.
Oh, okay.
Done alright.
It barely made its money back. But I didn't see it advertised anywhere really. I just saw the name out there.
I don't think we got it released in England, I remember it coming out in America with the reviews and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think there was any buzz in England at all, so I don't even know if it got released over here. And I wouldn't be surprised because we're not allowed to see Creed yet either.
Yeah, it was released September UK.
Oh, was it?
Because I remember seeing it October.
I can't imagine that would have got quite a long run at the cinema.
I think I saw it at the very end because I was literally in an empty cinema.
Yeah. But no, I mean, you've got my interest about it, so I'll definitely give it a watch, when it's released. And
a lot of people are saying that this is The Fault in Our Stars, which was the film about the girl that had cancer. This is that if, it was an actually good film, like a seriously good film.
Mm.
And you'll love every single character in it. You'll get to love them, and I recently watched this twice, back to back, like on the same day, because I was just like so overwhelmed by this movie. I don't ever do that with any movies. I don't think I've ever done that before. And this is actually hitting up into my top 10 of all time just from this year.
Oh wow. I was gonna say, like, this year has been for me like very weak on sort of that emotional punch from movies. I mean, I said I had it with Inside Out.
This will beat out Inside Out very easily.
As I had it in moments of Good Dinosaur. But yeah, absolutely, that'll be definitely one I'll get round to watching. Shame it didn't get much, a lot more traction, but that's sort of sadly par for the course with independent movies.
I hope it becomes a cult film.
Yeah.
I hope it gains a cult following.
So, yeah, I think that'll do it for our top 15 films. Obviously, we had the honourable mentions as well. Tate, I'm glad you sort of like jumped to your number one. Otherwise, this could have turned into a whole other like Star Wars Force Awakens review part 2. But yeah, so that'll do it for our list. We will have another list coming out, which will be it's either top 15 worst or sort of disappointing or both movies. I don't exactly know how we're titling that one yet, but Savvy. On Twitter at cinema_savvy, and we're also on Letterboxd at letterboxd.com/cinema_savvy as well. So get involved with the channel. As of this recording, we are 7 subs, I believe, from hitting 100. So be sure. Yeah. So be sure to hit that subscribe
Please
button.
Subscribe if you're
commenting
watching
and everything like that. We would really, really appreciate if we could get to 100 subs before the end of this year. So yeah, look out for our next list. Let us know what some of your favourite films were from this year, and until next time, thanks for listening.